Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Um, this is going to be our first video of the 6 weeks of the second semester. So, of the year two, 2015. So yeah. Um, I know on the video on the homework I forgot to put the base two, but I did reply on it and I did say it on it. So make sure. So yeah, I'm sorry, I forgot. I just didn't pay attention. But make sure that we do that. We'll go over in a minute, but I forgot some stuff. I need you to check Edmodo. If I tell you you have homework in Edmodo, check it. Just kind of forget it. The reason why I asked you for the sticky notes is for that same reason, so that you don't forget. You will have homework today. All right. Let's start with the first one. Find the area of the parallelogram. What do we get? What's the formula? So base is 18 times 5, right? 90? 90 what? 90 square meters, right? Square meters. Now, if you're looking at it, you're like, well, that's the same formula as the rectangle, but that's not a rectangle. Well, can anybody prove it? Why is it that we can use the same formula? That's the answer. You just didn't write the picture. Yeah. Okay. Anybody else? Yeah. Yeah, similar to what she said. But let me show you what that really means in a way. When we're saying it's base times height, quite literally, we're talking about from here to here, that's the base, right? And from here to here. But if we're doing base times height, then we're covering the entire base and the entire height, correct? So that means that we're covering all the way over here and all the way down here. This part is not there. Do y'all see that? But it's actually on this side. That's why it works, because we're literally grabbing this little part, this right here, and we're transferring it over here, and now we have a perfect rectangle. And this is gone. We're just moving it. That's why base times height works. You're just moving the piece of the picture around so that you can fit it like a little puzzle. That's what you're doing. And I could just tell you, well, it works because it works. But it makes no sense for you to know formulas if you don't know why they work. You're not robots. I told you that before. You need to know why things work. All right, so for the next one, let's do the rectangle, which should be easy. Again, base and height, correct? And the base is 19.5 times 8.5. I can do that right here. 45, 7, carry 4, 39, and then that'll be 40, right? Carry 4, and that'll be 72 and 4, 76, carry 7, 7 and 8, that's 15. 5, 7, 5, 6, 1. Is that correct? And we have 2 decimal places right there. Good. So it should be 165.75 centimeters squared. I want you to understand again that these are very easy calculations. It's just understanding how the formula works and what you're calculating. When you have decimals, and I intentionally put decimals in there to remind you, you have to be a little bit more careful whenever you calculate this stuff and where the decimal ends at the end. Be careful with those. Do not forget it. Let's go with the trapezoid. So I wanted to show you something about the trapezoid that might make a little more sense. For the formula, it says base 1 plus base 2 over 2, right? Times the height. What do you think we divided by 2? Why do we think we add the bases and then divide it by 2? What? What do you do when you get the average of both bases? What happens to the picture? You make them the same, right? So if I go up here and I show you, if I have this, and then I have, let's say, that, those are two bases, right? When you average them out, what do you get? The same, right? So basically, it's like putting this one right here, right? And the other piece goes away. You're making it even. So once you make it even, you can actually use that base times height, right? So once you make it even, you just multiply whatever you get of the average of the bases and multiply by the height, and you get a rectangle again. So that's another reason why this formula works. You get the average of the bases and then multiply it by the height. And that's it. Easy. Again, you could just look at it like, well, it's a formula, plug in the numbers, and you get to go. But then if somebody asks you, why do they work that way? At least now you can explain why. Instead of saying like, oh no, my teacher just gave me the formula. So for this one, it'll be 23.5 plus 15. That's the one that I forgot to put. But I did post it in the comments. Divided by 2, because you didn't go back to it on time. I posted around 7. No, 6 something. Close to 7. Oh. It was around 7, because I was cooking the whole time. Okay. So I believe this one gave me 38.5. 38.5. And divided by 2, you get 19.25. Multiplied by the height of 7.5, you get 144. 37. 0.375. I want you to make sure that whenever you get the answer, that you either keep it like this, or if you round it, if you're going to leave only 2 decimal places, then you have to round it correctly. You can't just take away the 5 and say it's 144.37. What is it? 38, right? Because the 5 will round it. So it'll be 144.38. And whatever metric you system is, I believe is inches, squared inches. I need those two. I need either this one or that one. Well, you can't do it with only one base. Yes. They didn't? That's another thing. You need to remember that. That's why the formula, he needs to go all the way down. Yes. No. This is completion. Don't worry about it. All right. So for this one, I wanted to explain why it would have worked the same way as if you just divided the whole thing by 2 instead of doing base 1 plus base 2 divided by 2 and then multiply by h. It would be easier just to multiply, get the average of the bases, multiply it by the height, and then divide the whole thing by 2. It's the same way. So look it over here. In PEMDAS, it says you can multiply or divide whichever one comes first, right? But in the formula, it's the same thing. We're multiplying on both sides. So it doesn't matter how you do it, it's still going to work. So what I would do too, work this out first, which will give me that, and then multiply by 2, which essentially means throwing all this stuff on top of the other 2, like you would do with the x, right? And you end up with base plus all the average of the bases times the height divided by 2. You divide only one time. Well, for the average, I'm not talking about division there. The average is its own thing. Do you have any idea what I'm saying when I say average? No, the average of the bases. Base 1 plus base 2. When I say average, I'm talking about that. Yes. Oh, somebody raise your hand over there. Nobody? Are we good? No, you're dividing by 2. Once you get the answer for this, when you solve all this, you divide it by 2, like we did here. See? I'm sorry? I think this is what part that you don't understand. Multiplying by 1/2 is basically dividing by 2 here. 1/2 times, watch, don't lose me here. I'll put a number, 3, just 3, right? But it's a whole number. How do I turn it into a fraction? Put over 1, right? When you multiply across, you get 3/2. Are you following so far? Right? Let me change this into what we actually have, which is that. That is like a whole number. How do you turn it into a fraction? Put over 1. 1 times all of this will give me all of that, correct? Two times 1? Is that the same thing? There you go. You're really not multiplying, you're dividing. Whenever you multiply by a fraction, you're actually dividing. I know it's a little complicated, but I hope you go back to the video and watch it, because you'll see it again. All right, for the next part. The square. Okay, what is the formula for the square? Or what? Length square, right? I want you to use length square because it reminds you of that square root. It's the opposite of it. So it'll be 28 squared, which is 28 times 28. What do you get when you do that? You what? 784 what? Square millimeters. Then it's wrong. Every formula needs to have the correct units of measurement. When you get the area, you need to have the little 2 on top of the unit of measurement. That is not negotiable. You have to put that on there. Otherwise, it's just another measurement. It's like you telling me that the length of it is that much. But it's not. That's the area. It's covering the whole thing. Let me show you a quick representation of why that's important. How many squares are at the bottom? How many squares are on the side? What is 5 times 2? Here's why it works and why it makes sense. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I have 10 squares. Right? That's why you put the little 2 on top, because it means that the area will be equivalent to whatever many squares in that area. All good? All right. Let's go on. Yes. What? Oh. Yeah, you need to have the squared and the units of measurement. What was over here? I forgot. 32 meters, right? That looks horrible too. All right, so let's start with the circle. What is the area, the formula for the area of the circle? Times radius squared. Here's what this does not mean. It does not mean pi times r times 2. That's wrong. That's going to give you the diameter, the r times 2. which can give you the circumference. That's not what I'm asking for, right? If you have a difficulty remembering what r squared means, I want you to write it as pi times r times r. And that'll remind you that you're multiplying the radius by itself. Otherwise, you're going to get the wrong answer. And as always, the wrong answer is available. So you'll think like, oh, I got it right, and you didn't. So what is the radius? 25 squared, right? What is 25 squared? 625. Sometimes your answer is going to be just like that. It'll say pi times 625 square feet. That'll be it. Other times they'll want you to work it out all the way. So you have to put 3.14 times 625. What do you get there? It's like a long number. 0.5? And that's square feet, right? And that will be your answer. All right, the next one, we already explained yesterday that a triangle is literally half of a rectangle, right? So what we're going to do, we're going to get the same formula for the rectangle, right? Which is area equals base times height. But what do we do to it? We divide it by 2 because a triangle is only half of it. So we have to divide it by 2. And then we get the base is 32 times 85. What is the answer? Wait. Carry that 2 down because you'll forget. I promise you. Sometimes you'll forget that you have to divide at the end. What is 32 times 85? You divide that. Is that it? Divide that by 2. And what is your area then? 60 what? Square meters, right? Good. Please do not forget to do that. I had some kids in my first period who forgot to divide, and the answer was wrong. And again, the wrong answer is always there. All right, how are you feeling? Let me pause this real quick. All right, moving on with the lesson. So we're going to be using SketchUp for this one, and I want you to get used to the units of measurement. So we have is 9 inches and 11/16. I don't like that one. Hang on. Let me make another one. Bye, goodbye, goodbye. Right there. Look at the first dimension. It says 8 feet, 5.5 inches. Is it okay for me to write that as is that the same thing as 8 feet and 5 inches? Who says, whoever says no, can you explain why? Okay. Can somebody explain why you think it's the same thing? True. That's probably one of the biggest. Yes.
Because 8 foot 5 is talking about 8 foot 5 inches, and for 8.5 feet, that's 8, and that's 8 feet and 6 inches, because that's half a foot.
Thank you. That's how you convert. I think one of the biggest misconceptions about that and turning them into decimals is that we don't know the base system. So for feet, we have a base 12 system, right? This right here, the inches go all the way to 12, and then it turns into 1 foot, right? Whereas the decimals, it goes up to 9, and the next one, the 10th one, it turns into a foot, into a whole number, right? That's the main difference. That's why these things are not equal. Like Michael and Taylor said, zero point 0.5 of a foot means 6 inches, right? Half a foot. So this would be 8 feet and 6 inches, which is not the same as 8 feet and 5 inches. Yep. No. What do you mean no? Yes, I is. I know. So what? How? Now that we know that, how can I possibly convert this little guy over here into a decimal? Somebody give me an idea, Taylor. How? I'm sorry. Why over 5/12? Yes. So basically, you get 8 feet. We don't touch that one, right? We don't care. It's already in a whole number. However, this one right here, what do we do? 5/12, and that goes 4 times. That's 48. 20, that'd be 1, and then 12, that'd be 8, 0, that's about 6. I'll stop right there. But it's approximately 8.416, which is not the same thing as 8.5, right? That's the main difference. And you need to understand how to convert from an inches to decimals accurately. So that's what we're going to do for part of the lesson. We're going to see over there it's already 8.5. That one's fine. It's just going to be 8.416, right? We just figured that one out. But the other one is 6 and 9. So it's 6 feet and 9 inches. You need to convert that into a decimal, which wouldn't be really hard if you think about it. So let's find the area of that little rectangle using these measurements at the bottom. Oh, man, what did I do? Okay, so from here to here, no, that was 6, 9, right? Yes, I did that. All kinds of cool. And then from here to here, oh, it rounded it, whatever. Oh, it passed. But it was 8.5, and the other one was 6.6. No, not 8.5. 8 and 5, and the other one's 6 and 9. So let's convert those into decimals first, and then find the area. Go. And we're back. Taylor was very eager to share her findings with us. Sure. What were the measurements? So it'll be 8.416, right? When you convert it to decimal. And that would have been 6.75. You get the money in your head. If you think about it, half a foot, I mean, 0.5 of a foot would be 6 inches, right? Break that in half, that'll be 0.25, right? Add it together, 75. So that's 3/4 of a foot. So when you use the formula, area equals base times height, you end up with 8.416 times 6.75. What did you get, Taylor? Point what? Eight what? Let's 7 6 what? 7 6 7 5. Let's do that instead. Keep 2 decimals. And then you just put what kind of feet? Squared. We still have to put the units of measurement. We're saying that this is 56 full squared feet and then 77 hundredths of a square foot, basically. That's why I want you to do the other ones I'm going to give you for homework. I want to see the original measurements, the conversion right here to decimals for each. I want to see the formula. I want to see how you plug it into the formula and your final answer. I I trust you enough to believe that you're not going to use a calculator. Because you should not be using calculator for basic operations. You can multiply on the side with this thing. In fact, I like to see your work on the side, right here, all here, blah 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 blah. I want to see all that work. So I'm gonna take a little picture of this. No, it's already there. You do not have to redo the one at the very corner. You just did it. It is. It's area. Area is one of the easiest things ever. Do what? All right, that's gonna be all for